Today we're going to be looking at RL.7.9. Compare and contrast a fictional portrayal of a time, place, or character and an historical account of the same period as a means of understanding how authors of fiction use or alter history. So we're going to be looking today, and if you'll think about historical fiction, we read a lot of historical fiction in class. We read, when we read The Watsons Go to Birmingham, Bud Not Buddy. Those are both fictional stories. They have fake characters, a fake storyline, a fake setting, but then there's actual real history in them that's true, whether it be an event in it that occurs or in the setting itself might be a part of the historical fiction. So let's look, and then the historical account is the actual real history. So let's look at a story, and the first one that we're going to look at is actually a historical account. So this is the actual informational text, and it's called Journey to the Pacific by Rita Hay. And let me make it bigger so you can see it. In 1804, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark led the first U.S. expedition to the Pacific coast of North America. Sent by President Thomas Jefferson to chart a route through unexplored regions of the country, the team of explorers recorded the wide variety of plants, animals, and geography they saw in the wilderness. The expedition journeyed along rivers, over mountains, and through valleys for over a year, encountering hostile tribes, inclement weather, and challenging terrain. On November 7, 1805, the Corps of Discovery thought they had finally found the Pacific Ocean, but they were mistaken. The wide expanse of open water turned out to be the estuary or mouth of the Columbia River. With the help of native guides and determined companions, however, the team finally succeeded. The expedition reached the Pacific Ocean on November 15, 1805. A long, hard winter and return journey lay before them, but the first half of their mission had been accomplished. So let's remember, this is the historical account. This is the facts here. So let's look at the question. What characteristics of a historical account are present in this passage? So you're looking for characteristics that make it historical. So pretty much we're looking for the facts here. So let's go back and look, and let's underline the things that we know are the facts, the history part of it, that's true. So we know there's a date. Meriwether Lewis and William Clark led the first U.S. expedition to the Pacific Ocean, the Pacific coast of North America. That's a fact. We also know another fact is that President Thomas Jefferson, he was actually the president, and he actually really did send them on a team to explore. And another fact is they actually did explore the plants, animals, and geography. That was true. Another fact that we see is on November 7th, 1805, the Corps of Discovery, they thought they had actually discovered it. Okay, that's an actual fact. And if you notice, these dates will help you because the dates are actually the dates in history. Another fact that we know is that it actually ended up turning out to be in the mouth of the Columbia River. So that's an actual fact. And then another fact, I see another date. The exhibition reached the Pacific Ocean on November 15, 1805. That's an actual fact. That's when they actually reached the Pacific Ocean. So we can see we were able to pick out all the facts that make this an historical account. Now, as we look, if you'll notice the chart, instead of writing it in there, we highlighted all the historical facts. Now it says fictional details. Well, this was the historical account. So now we're going to actually have to look at the fictional account. So let's look at this. And this is historical fiction. Fiction meaning it's fake. Historical means there's some actual real history in there. So let's see if we can pick it out. Citing the Pacific by J.C. Wright. As the weary explorers reached the top of the hill, Mr. Lewis let out a cry of delight. "We've made it," he exclaimed, "the Pacific." The men exchanged doubtful glances. Just last week, Mr. Clark had rejoiced, along with the entire team, confident that the large body of water before them was the ocean. Later, they discovered that the water was just the estuary of the Columbia River, which we know earlier in the other passages said that meant the mouth. Yet they smelled ocean air. Peter had tried to stay positive as they continued their search, but it was extremely difficult. Would today, November 15th, actually be the day they reached the Pacific Ocean? That certainly is a sight for sore eyes, one of the men explained, and Peter looked up and grinned. After a year and a half of traveling, they had in fact come upon the salt waters of the Pacific. Now, I noticed some things immediately that let me know that this is historical fiction. Well, it's fiction dialogue. I see characters talking. I see actually a fictional character in the story, Peter. He's not, he's a fake character. I also see the characters' feelings and emotions here, which are obviously made up because it's a part of the fake or the made up part of the story. So let's pick out and let's underline what we know is the fictional parts of this story. Ooh, see if we can move it over. So let's look. Well, anything when he says any of the dialogue, that would definitely be fictional. Let's see here. This is yet they smelled ocean air. That's just an opinion. Peter had tried to stay positive. That's his opinion. That's all just, Peter is the make-believe character, so that's going to be fake. That's certainly a sight for sore eyes. That's dialogue, plus that's made up words. Peter looked up and grinned. That's all fictional. So just these few things, we see that the way the character feels, the character himself, and the dialogue let us know that it's a fiction text. But now, it's historical fiction, so we know there's some actual real history here. So let's use a different color. And let's underline in green the actual facts. Well, what was the same? Well, I know Mr. Lewis. He was actually a real person in history. And Mr. Clark, we know that they were both real people. Something else that we know that was actual fact is that they really did discover that the water was the estuary of the Columbia River. They thought they had discovered it. So that actually really happened. But they'd only really discovered the mouth of the Columbia River. And let's see, another fact, November 15th, that was the actual day they really reached the Pacific Ocean. That's actually factual. And those would be the main facts. Yep. I think that's the only ones that we're going to look at. And actually that they had, in fact, reached it. And that's a fact as well. So, if we look back at our graphic organizer, all that information that we put in red would have been our fictional details. The dialogue, the character's thoughts, Peter himself. So we can easily see the difference in the historical facts and the fictional facts. So let's look at our question. It says, which fact presented in Journey to the Pacific is also included in the fictional story above? So let's look at our question here. We're looking for a fact that's in Journey to the Pacific that's also included in the fictional story. And remember earlier, which I wish it would stay up there, we had underlined the facts in this text, the things that we knew that were actually historical. So we're looking for something that would have been in both. So an actual piece of history, Journey to the Pacific was the historical account that would have been in the fictional story as well. So let's read our answer choices and let's see where we can go from there. Let's look at it. Peter played a key role as a member of Lewis and Clark's team. Well, I know immediately Peter was in the fictional account. He's a made-up character. So would he be in the Journey to the Pacific in the historical account? No, because he's a made-up fictional character, so that can't be in both. So I know it's not A. Let's look at B. Some of the explorers felt that the ocean was a sight for sore eyes. And if you'll notice, it's cut off here, but that's in quotation marks. That's dialogue. Would there be dialogue in a historical account? No, remember that is in a fictional account. So that's not true. So we know it's not that one. Let's look at C. Peter tried to keep up his spirits during the exhibition. But once again, Peter is the fictional character. Is he going to be in the informational text? No, he's not. And that's not even a fact itself anyway. That's just his thoughts and his feelings, which were, like we said, he's a fictional character, so it can't be C. So we know it has to be D, but let's look at our answer choice. The explorers had mistaken an estuary for the Pacific Ocean. Well, we know that that's true, but let's go back and prove it. We'll look in this story. Here it is, stated right here. And didn't mean to do that. Took a picture. Here we go. They discovered that the water was just the estuary of the Columbia River. That's in the second story. And let's go back to the first story, the historical account. I remember reading it because it said it was the mouth. Let's see where it's at. Here it is. The wide expanse of the ocean, the estuary, or the mouth of the Columbia River. So they would have been both. This kind of question, you can just go back, and if you look at the facts and you go back and look in both stories, it's easy to prove.